Hi, my name is Marcelo, and I am so blessed to have the opportunity to read with you today. Today we'll be reading out of the book of Ecclesiastes, chapters 1 through 4. Chapter 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What advantage does man have in all his work which he does under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. Also the sun rises and the sun sets, and hastening to its place it rises there again, blowing towards the south, then turning towards the north. The wind continues swirling along, and on its circular courses the wind returns. All the rivers flow into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, there they flow again. All things are wearisome. Man is not able to tell it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor is the ear filled with hearing. That which has been is that which will be, and that which has been done is that which will be done. So there is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one might say that, see this, it is new? Already it has existed for ages, which were before us. There is no remembrance of earlier things, and also of the later things which will occur. There will be for them no remembrance among those who will come later still. I, the preacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem, and I set to my mind to seek and explore by wisdom concerning all that has been done under heaven. It is a grievous task which God has given to the sons of men to be afflicted with. I have seen all the works which have been done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, behold, I have magnified and increased wisdom more than all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my mind has observed a wealth of wisdom and knowledge, and I set my mind to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I realize that this is also striving after wind, because in much wisdom there is much grief, and increasing knowledge results in increasing pain. Chapter 2. I said to myself, come now, I will test you with pleasure. So enjoy yourself, and behold, it too was futility. I said of laughter, it is madness, and of pleasure, what does it accomplish? I explored with my mind how to stimulate my body with wine while my mind was guiding me wisely, and how to take hold of folly until I could see what good there is for the sons of men to do under heaven the few years of their lives. I enlarged my works. I built houses for myself. I planted vineyards for myself. I made gardens and parks for myself, and I planted them all kinds of fruit trees. I made ponds of water for myself, from which to irrigate a forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves, and I had homeborn slaves. Also, I possessed flocks and herds larger than all who preceded me in Jerusalem. Also, I collected for myself silver and gold for the treasure of kings and provinces. I provided for myself male and female singers for the pleasure of men, many concubines. Then I became great and increased more than all who preceded me in Jerusalem. My wisdom also stood by me. All that my eyes desired, I did not refuse them. I did not withhold my heart for any pleasure, for my heart was pleased because of all my labor, and this was my reward for all my labor. Thus I considered all my activities which my hands had done, and the labor which I had exerted, and behold, all was vanity and striving after wind, and there was no profit under the sun. So I turned to consider wisdom, madness, and folly. For what will man do who will come after the king, except what has already been done? And I saw that wisdom excels folly as light excels darkness. The wise man's eyes are on the head, but the fools walk in darkness. And yet I know that one fate befalls them both. Then I said to myself, as is the fate of the fool, it will also befall me. When then I have been extremely wise. So I said to myself, this too is vanity. For there is no lasting remembrance of the wise man as with the fool, inasmuch as in the coming days all will be forgotten, and how the wise man and the fools alike die. So I hated life, for the work which has been done under the sun was grievous to me, because everything is futility and striving after wind. Thus I hated all the fruit of my labor, for which I had labored under the sun, for I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool? Yet he will have control over all the fruit of my labor, for which I have labored by acting wisely under the sun. This too is vanity. Therefore I completely despaired all of the fruits of my labor, for which I had labored under the sun. When there is a man who had labored with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, then he will give his legacy to one who has not labored with them. This too is vanity and a great evil. For what does a man get in all his labor and all his striving with which he labors under the sun? Because all his days his task is painful and grievous, even at night his mind does not rest. This too is vanity. There is nothing better for a man than to eat and drink and tell himself that his labor is good. This also I have seen that it is from the hand of God. For who can eat and who can have enjoyment without him? For to a person who is good in his sight, he has given wisdom and knowledge and joy, while the sinner he has given the task of gathering and collecting, so that he may give to the one who is in God's sight. This too is vanity and striving after wind. Chapter 3. There is an appointed time for everything, and there is a time for every event under heaven, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to shun embracing, a time to search and a time to give up as lost, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear apart and a time to sew together, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What profit is there to the worker from that in which he toils? I have seen the task which God has given the sons of men, with which they occupy themselves. He has made everything appropriate in its time. He has also set eternity in their hearts, yet so that man will not find out the work which God has done from the beginning, even to the end. I know that there is nothing better for them than to rejoice and do good in one's lifetime. Moreover, that every man who eats and drinks sees good in all his labor. It is a gift of God. I know that everything God does will remain forever. There is nothing to add to it. There is nothing to take from it. For God has so worked that men should fear him. That which has already been and that which has already been. For God seeks what has passed by. Furthermore, I have seen under the sun that in this place of justice there is wickedness, and in this place of righteousness there is wickedness. I said to myself, God will judge both the righteous man and the wicked man, for a time for every matter and for every deed is there. I said to myself concerning the sons of men, God has surely tested them in order for them to see that they are but beasts. For the fate of the sons of men and the fate of beasts is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. Indeed, they have all the same breath, and there is no advantage for a man over beasts. For all is in vanity. All go to the same place. All came from dust, and all return to dust. For who knows, the breath of man ascends upward, and the breath of the beast descends downwards to the earth. I have seen that nothing is better, that the man should be happy with his activities, and that is his lot. For who will bring him to see what will occur after him? Chapter 4. Then I looked again at all the acts of oppression which were being done under the sun, and behold, I saw the tears of the oppressed, and that they had no one to comfort them. And on the one side, and on the side of the oppressors was power, but they had no one to comfort them. So I congregated to the dead, who were already dead, more than the living, who were still living. But better off than both of them is the one who has never existed, who has never seen the evil activity that is done under the sun. I have seen that every labor and every skill which is done is the result of rivalry between a man and his neighbor. This too is vanity and striving after wind. The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh. One hand full of rest is better than 2 fists full of labor and striving after wind. Then I looked again at vanity under the sun. There was a certain man without a dependent, having neither a son nor a brother, yet there was no end to all his labor. Indeed, his eyes were not satisfied with riches, and he never asked, "And for whom am I laboring and depriving of my pleasure?" This too is vanity, and it is a grievous task. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. For if either of them fails, the other will lift up his companion. But woe to the one who falls, when there is not another to lift him up. Furthermore, if 2 lie down together, they keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? And if one can overpower who is alone, 2 can resist him. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly torn apart. A poor yet wise lad is better than an old and foolish king who no longer knows how to receive instruction. For he has come out of prison to become king, even though he was born poor in his kingdom. I have seen all the living under the sun throng on one side of the second lad who replaces him. There is no end to all the people, to all who were before them, and even the ones who will come later will not be happy with him. For this too is vanity and striving after wind. Thank you for reading with me today.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to Fear into Faith Global Bible Revival, where we're on a mission to get 1 million people to read the Word of God for themselves. My name is Summer Day. Welcome. Glad that you're here. This might be the most difficult interview that I've ever had to do, or it might just be the best one I've ever done, because with me in the studio is none other than my husband, Marcelo. Welcome, sir.
Well, hello, beautiful. It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
Okay, let's
We've got to have a little fun.
Let's just be like real for a second. On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you about this interview?
Yeah, honestly, I think I'm at like a 3.
Good, because I'm a solid like 7.8. So.
Together, we're at 10.8.
Let's go. First of all, thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being one of our readers. You were one of our readers last year. You read like every Wednesday and sometimes Tuesday, and sometimes you subbed on Thursdays. You were so diligent at giving your time to the Lord, and I'm so grateful. You didn't have to say yes to that just because you're my husband. I was grateful that you said yes to that. And this entire project would not exist without you, and without you saying yes, and without you, coming underneath the vision that God had given me and being here. And I'm just first want to thank you for that. Anybody watching, like, you have had your hand on all of this. You've been here at all the taping days. You're the guy behind the scenes writing up the list of like who's reading what today. You have your hand all over this, and so thank you. Thank you for trusting me and supporting me and saying yes to this crazy Bible revival, whatever God is doing, because you didn't have to. And I'm really grateful. I'm grateful that we're having this opportunity to touch people's lives together.
Well, let me button hook on that it's really, number one, it's not our project. Yeah. I think we both talked about this a lot. It's really the Lord's project. And I don't think either one of us realized this when you were on the floor 4 years ago crying to the Lord, like what this was going to become. And it's been a privilege to be able to read all year long and really be a part of that community and to really be in the Word. You know, I had an opportunity to read the Bible cover to cover a couple years ago.
Yeah, your first time. Okay, let's talk about that.
Okay.
When you read the Bible cover to cover the first time, you didn't do it in a year. How fast did you do it?
I did it in just about 7 months. I don't remember the time if it was under 7 months or just over 7 months, but it was about 7 months, and I really dove into it, and it's all I read. It's all I did.
Was that one of those, like, you know, your wife had read it in a year, so you wanted to one-up her? Just go ahead. Oh, you did it in a year, I'll do it in 7 months, then, honey.
There is no competition in the kingdom.
Oh, that was a good answer.
There's no competition in the kingdom. It was just a matter of circumstances, and because of what had happened around that time frame, and being during the lock-ins and stuff, I had nothing else to do. And I truly committed myself to just being in the Word and recognizing the importance of studying all of it. And there were some times that, you know, like as we read through the Bible, there are challenging chapters, there are challenging books, and I did my best to chunk my way through those things. However, there also was times when I didn't want to put it down. Like I didn't want to put it down. I wanted to find out more. Even in the readings this last year, I really enjoyed getting the opportunity to read every Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah. Like I didn't want to stop at my chapter. Like I wanted to steal the next chapter because we were so into what was going on. Yeah. So, and I find that the Bible, there are stories in the Bible that are like that. And it was just my story. In 7 months, I cover to cover.
I love it. So last year you were a reader when we were reading live. We're reading live on Facebook, reading live on YouTube. What was your favorite part of that experience of being a reader live last year?
That's a really good question. My favorite experience was the community. It was recognizing people that showed up every single week, right? It's one thing for me as a co-founder of our company. It's one thing for me to say, hey, I'm going to step up. I'm going to be the man this time, and I'm going to show a male presence in the community. But it was different to see these people show up every single week. Yeah. You know, there's Kara, there's Victor, there's a bunch of other people that are out there that it meant something to them to see us every week. There was consistency in that, and I really enjoyed that part of it.
I love that. Okay, you just read In the Other Room for the TV show.
Yeah.
And how'd that go?
It was different. I will say it's different. Reading all last year where we had that engagement with the community, I made it a point not to engage while I was reading because I really wanted to just be in the Word and not be distracted. So it was a little different. However, it's, you know, to me it was a lot of similarities in that, where I'm still just reading the Word. I'm devoting this time, this 10, 15 minutes to the Lord, and I'm just saying, Lord, just speak to me. I don't know what I'm reading today. I don't know what the Word has for me today, but it was great just to be able to open up the book and say, all right, Lord, use me. Here we go.
This is fun. I asked this to everybody. I asked them, why did you say yes to this project? I want to know your answer. Why did you say yes?
Why I say yes? Because the Lord made sure I wouldn't say no.
Tell me more about that.
The Lord has blessed me with a very powerful and influential wife and business partner. You know, I chose to say yes to this because I understood the importance of what it is. I see kind of down the road of what it is that we're doing and the importance of where we are in the world today. You know, we are on the precipice of something. You know, we heard this the other day where the biblical illiteracy of our country is just, it's tanked. However you want to look at it, it's either through the roof or it's all the way down, way super low. And we're doing our part as not just a husband and wife, but as believers, we're doing our part to really bring the Word in a new format to people that hasn't been seen before. I'm relating it a lot to like the Chosen, right? The Chosen has taken these stories of Jesus and has given it a new, fresh breath that people now can relate to the stories of Jesus that in the past may not have been able to just by reading the gospel, right? And I get it. Jesus was a Jew, and a lot of who Jesus is is encapsulated in the Old Testament, right? There's all this prophecy about him. There's all this conversation about Jesus and the Messiah in the Old Testament. And it's important for me to recognize that there is more to Christianity. There is more to living unto the Lord than just reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's something that I've shared with everybody since we've started this project. Really understanding the entire Bible is important. It's important to recognize why people say certain things, why we have rules of certain ways. One of my biggest books that I spend a lot of time in is Kings and Chronicles. There's a portion there where the Israelites turn away from God, and then they beg and they fall to their knees. They beg and plead, Lord, please save us, please save us. And the Lord graciously comes back. And then what happens? Like the next generation, they turn away from God. Yeah. And that's a lot of my life struggle, where since I have been born again, I still walk that same path that the Israelites did, where I'm pleading God, save me, save me. Hey God, thanks for getting me out of this ticket. I'm going to go back to my old ways now, right? So had I just stayed in the New Testament, had I just read about Jesus, I wouldn't have ever been able to relate to that. And in that really truly shows me how much God loves us unconditionally. God loves us. He loves us in a manner that no matter what we do, he's still there for us.
So good. And we've now got to see what the show looks like. When we started, we were like, hey, we have this concept. We think this is what we want to do, but we really weren't sure what we were doing. And now we've been able to see it. It's been airing. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know how to express.
I promise I didn't do this because you're my husband, to cut you off and ask you a question. I know it's kind of rude, but we do get to take a break. So we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back with Marcelo.
You are so awesome.
Life is full of real challenges. Find simple solutions on the Dr. Centrell Show right here on Zondra TV.
But there's totally...
Hello, my friends. Welcome back. We are in the studio with Marcelo Cacciagioni, who happens to also be my husband. Yeah, like I said, they had very Italian. Cacciagioni.
Where was the hand?
Oh, Cacciagioni.
The hand.
People always ask if our name is Italian, and then we love to tell them that it's what?
It's Chinese.
Chinese, very Chinese.
And what's great, let me just stop you. What's great is that people totally believe it. I have never seen a Chinese name that looks like ours or sounds like ours.
Not at all. Let's talk really quick about how your name is not Marcelo Day.
No, it is
because people get confused and often call you Marcelo Day because I go by Summer Day. I guess we can explain that a little bit really quick. When I started being an author and a speaker, pretty much no human pronounces our last name correctly. So I remember asking you, how would you feel if I just went by Summer Day as an author? So when I go on stage to speak, people don't butcher our last name. And people were, when I first changed it on Facebook, people thought we got divorced.
Oh my God.
Had friends call me, what happened? Why'd you take your last name off?
Well, it even goes back all the way to when we had our theater company.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They would call you Mrs. C. And as we talked about that, it was more like, well, I'm not going to introduce her on stage as Summer Cacciagioni all the time, right?
Yeah.
So it just made sense. And Summer Day is such an easier name to spell, to say.
Yeah.
And to me, what your stage name doesn't mean anything about like whether or not we're still married, or you know what I mean?
There you go.
Or you're my wife. And just
so really quick, if you are confused, Day is actually my middle name. So my real, in fact, name is Summer Day. And we decided not to use my last name for being a speaker and author because everybody makes fun of it anyway, right? Like,
do.
We could go there. What's one of your favorite ways that someone's butchered your last name?
Oh man, I don't even know where to start.
I can, because I have 6 brothers and they like to bash our name as much as they can. We've had a cash in a 20.
A cash in a 20. A Caglione.
Cashews for money.
Cashews for money. I have another one that is not family friendly.
Don't say that one. Cacciatore.
Cacciatore is another one. Casciamani. There's not even an M back there, but they say Casciamani. Oh, cash for money. Did we say that one? Yeah.
Cacophony.
Cacophony.
Cacophony. Dave's yelling from the other room. Cacophony. Yeah, there you go.
Cacophony.
So everyone, I think, is clear of why I decided not to use our last name.
Yes.
Okay, let's go back. We've tangent long enough, Marcelo. Let's go back. Before the commercial break, we were talking about the show. I mean, we've seen it now.
Yeah.
I cried. When I watched the first episode, I cried. I think that Zandra TV Network has done an incredible job. Dave, the editor, they've done such a beautiful job. And that was my prayer. I actually was praying all the time, Lord, I want your glory to fall upon the show. Lord, be with the editors in the editing process. And that, and for me personally, it has been more beautiful and more incredible than I actually even envisioned it. I was just wondering, what was your experience when you got to see those first couple of episodes come out?
You know, I was truly overwhelmed. We had talked about it. You know, we've had in-depth conversations with Dave and with Zandra about what it would look like. Even while we were here recording some of the episodes, I would get little messages from Dave, our producer. Hey, check out this video. What if we use something like this? And I understood the concept on paper. It's like everything else. On paper, it made sense. But until you actually saw the finished product, until we sat down and went, whoa, look at these graphics. Listen to the underscore. Watch these words as they pop out with these messages. It was really, truly something unlike anything I've ever seen before or truly imagined. I was really impressed with what they've done. And I couldn't think of a better place to really foster this project than here with Zandra TV and the team here.
Yeah, it's been just like God ordained and aligned. It's been awesome. And the other thing that happened this week that was so great is our 7-year-old, actually 7 and 10, they've like been watching it every day. And the 7-year-old, you know, she doesn't read yet. Our 10-year-old's read most of the Bible by now, which is awesome. And, you know, she doesn't really read yet. And to watch her glued to it every day and have to tell her to turn it off.
Yeah.
And then even on Sunday when it wasn't airing, she's like, oh, well, I want to watch all the episodes from last week. That's just been something that I wasn't expecting either. And we've had a lot of parents that are telling us, you know, our 3-year-old, our 5-year-old are asking actually to watch it. And so that's been another really exciting thing.
Yeah, it's neat to see those emails come into our inbox and be like, this is like amazing. We had no idea that this is what it was going to be.
Yeah. I say,
pretty cool.
We didn't either. We just kept walking in obedience. And God aligned our steps. He aligned us with great creative minds. And, you know, you and I know that there was so much of the enemy coming after this. There was a lot of derailment. And there were very specific moments where it almost did not go this way. And God's just been bringing us on a path and been really clear. So it's been beautiful. Let's chat a little bit about your God journey. I love asking everybody, you know, what's been your God adventure? You know, if you were born and raised in the church. Now, I already know your story, but let's just pretend I know nothing. Were you raised in the church?
So I was raised Catholic, like a good Latino or Hispanic boy, like most of us are. We are baptized.
Okay, let's pause that. So you're Hispanic?
So my parents are from Argentina. We are from a European descent, but my parents are from Argentina. My parents were first generation born in Argentina, and then they immigrated to the United States legally. And I was the first generation born here in the United States.
Yeah.
And like many other Catholics, as soon as you're born, you are baptized.
Yeah.
And I was raised at a Catholic school and a Catholic church every Sunday, did my 52 minutes of Mass every Sunday, and then out the door. You know,
I'm going to pause you before you go on in your God journey, because you talked about being first generation born here from Argentina. And people never believe this about you, but your first language was what?
Español.
Ah!
Español.
You got to do a little more.
No sé qué decirte, por favor. So yes, my first language was Spanish. Fun fact, I actually learned English in preschool. My grandmother came over from Argentina and was with us for the first 2-3 years. When my brother was born, he had some complications. So my grandmother ended up staying and helping so that my mom can go back to work and help support our family. But yeah, I learned English in preschool for the most part. You know, there were little bits of words here and there, but most of my English was learned in preschool and then kindergarten.
Okay, now we can go back to the God journey and being raised in the Catholic Church, all those different things. And
you can check out the rest of this interview right here or by going to BibleRevival.tv. And if this show has blessed you, you can help us bless others by partnering with us for as little as $20 a month and help us to expand the reach of this show. We'd also like to invite you to join our Kingdom Discipleship Program, where you have an opportunity to get on weekly Bible Zoom calls with us and people around the world to deep dive into His Word. And you can check all that out at BibleRevival.tv. I'll see you next time, my friend.